and then we've got Dr. Hairston and Ms. Hilliard on the line. Ms. Letitia Johnson will not be able to join us this evening. We have all had an opportunity to review the agenda. Is there a motion to adopt the agenda as presented?
Motion.
Second.
Mr. McGuffey has moved. Mrs. Thompson has seconded. All in favor? Aye. The motion carries. Next, we've all had an opportunity to review the minutes. Is there a motion to approve the July 18, 2023 regular board meeting minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Thompson has moved. Mr. Figurs has seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
The motion carries. Now we're on to the superintendent's report. Dr. Green.
Thank you, Dr. Sivak. Good evening, board members, and to all of our Team JPS members who are here with us, any parents, scholars, or community members who will be joining us. Excited to be here this evening. We'll begin, as we typically do, with some video highlights presented by our instructional television team.
It was all hands on deck for Beautification Day at Jackson Public Schools, as JPS staff and volunteers joined forces to assist teachers in setting up classrooms, enhancing school entrances, and cleaning up the school grounds in preparation for the return of JPS scholars.
We've got projects happening all over the school campus, and teachers are in their classrooms getting ready.
Beautification Day proved to be an incredible opportunity to create a warm and welcoming experience for when JPS scholars return to school.
Really important for the scholars first and foremost. I would say they need some attraction coming into the school. It makes it look bright. Even within the community, we want the school just to shine.
Hundreds of school backpacks loaded with essential school supplies delivered to Marshall Elementary School.
Scholars come in with no distractions and can focus on academic excellence.
Generously donated by JPS Partners in Education and volunteers from the Junior League of Jackson.
These backpacks are also going to support the students at Isabel, just as well as the students here at Marshall.
This thoughtful initiative ensures that JPS scholars are fully prepared for when they step back into their classrooms.
None of us is an island, so whatever we do, we realize the importance of relationships and partnerships in our work.
In recognition of his dedication and leadership, we extend our heartfelt congratulations to JPS Deputy Superintendent Dr. Michael Cormack, Jr. Dr. Cormack was selected to join the prestigious 2023-24 cohort of the Fellowship for Public Education Leadership at the Yale School of Management. This esteemed 10-month program brings together senior-level public education leaders from across the country to work on strengthening their respective public school systems. Parents, it's not too late to register your child for school. The Poindexter Administrative Complex is offering extended registration hours this Thursday from 8 a.m. till 6 p.m. Don't miss this opportunity to enroll your child at JPS. For more information about Jackson Public Schools, please visit our website at jackson.k12.ms.us. Follow us on Facebook at Jackson Public Schools, on Instagram at JPS Student Voices, on Twitter at JPS District, Comcast Channels 18 and 19, and YouTube at youtube.com/JPSITV.
Thank you. Thank you to our team, and I appreciate, as always, the video highlights that do such a wonderful job of getting around the district and capturing some candid shots. Did you all check out the Super Soup t-shirt? Because I don't have it written otherwise, and I want to highlight another piece that you saw there, Dr. Cormack being admitted into this really prestigious fellowship at Yale, and just appreciate his continued leadership here and the fact that he's consistently out in these, as the folks say, streets, in these national streets, representing us well and bringing that knowledge on back to Jackson. So just want to lift him up and appreciate his leadership. Our super deputy. And now, Jackson Public School District is excited to announce this year's Family Law Clinic, which is sponsored by the Mississippi Volunteer Lawyers Project. The clinic will be held at the Hinds County Chancery Court on August the 4th. That's this Friday, I believe, from 9 a.m. until 12 p.m. Families in need of assistance can receive free legal services by registering at mvlp.org/clinics. And for more details, they can call the Mississippi Volunteer Lawyers Project at 601-882-5001. And the deadline to register for the clinic is Thursday, August the 3rd, by 12 p.m. I'm very pleased to ask and have Attorney Harris to join us now to introduce a special guest from the Hinds County Chancery Court, who's with us this evening.
Thank you so much, Dr. Green. Good evening, Board President Dr. Seaback, board members, community members. We are so excited to have our special guest in the house tonight. I would like to introduce you to Judge Crystal Wise Martin. Judge Wise Martin is a chancellor on the Hinds County Chancery Court, and this clinic is hosted every year, sponsored by the Mississippi Volunteer Lawyers Project. And I'm going to invite her up. Actually, I'm not going to take any more of her shine to tell you a little bit about the clinic and how it can serve families here. While she's on her way up, I would like to say that Judge Wise Martin is a graduate of Jackson Public Schools. She graduated from Callaway High School, and she is a JPS parent. So without further ado, Judge Crystal Wise Martin.
Good evening, everyone.
Evening.
Thank you so much for having me. And I have to admit, between Attorney Moore and Superintendent Green, you all really took everything that I was going to say. But I am a very proud JPS graduate and a very proud JPS parent. And since I do have the mic at this time, I have to thank all of the board members, but especially those classroom teachers and administrators for what you all do every day to make our children safe, secure, and educated. It is such a yeoman's job that you all do, and I am so appreciative for you, and I will continue to keep you in my prayers and do everything that we can to make you all's job easier and JPS a continued success, reaching higher and higher goals.
Yay.
My name again is Judge Crystal Wise Martin, and I'm one of 4 Chancery Court judges in Hinds County, and I am so excited to be here to again announce that we are having our Family Law Clinic. We try to do it at least 2 times a year. We find that our court administrators get a lot of phone calls when it's time to go back to school because they're trying to get, a lot of times, grandchildren, nephews, nieces, the child down the street into school, and they don't have the correct paperwork in order to do so. One of the things that I've noticed is JPS has done a tremendous job, and I would have to say the attorney's office does a tremendous job at cooperating with us to ensure that we have the proper documentation and everything necessary to assist those individuals in getting the proper legal documentation and paperwork. So I want to commend you, Attorney Moore, for being there. They're actually there on site to answer questions and things of that nature. But again, the clinic is going to be held this Friday, August 4th, from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m., and it's going to be at the Chancery Court building that's on the 3rd floor. Now, a couple things I want to remind you of. That's the building, because there's a lot of courthouses around there. That's the building where you buy your car tag, okay? And then second, a lot of times they don't like for you to bring in your cell phone, so keep that in mind. You might have to leave your cell phone in the car. Some of the services that are being rendered are guardianships, conservatorships, custody matters, visitation, divorce, name changes, birth certificate corrections, and if you just got any kind of family law issue, we want you to come and you might be able to receive some advice on those issues as well. I do want to emphasize we are not dealing with criminal issues, so if you have an expungement or any criminal issues, questions that you have, the lawyers will not be there to assist in those matters. And the benefit of going to this clinic is, number one, as Superintendent said, it's free. You usually have to pay a filing fee before you can get any services rendered. It's usually in the neighborhood of $158. So that fee is waived for this day only. This day only. And you have lawyers in the community who are volunteering their services and time. And again, you must register at mvlp.org/clinic. And also remember to bring important documents with you. Some of the documents that you typically need are your driver's license. Any document that gets filed that day, you're going to have to go to the clerk's office to get it notarized, and they're going to need proof of who you are. So you need to bring your driver's license. If it's dealing with a child, a lot of time a birth certificate or a social security card. If it involves somebody who has passed away, you might need a death certificate. And if you have any other court case related to the issue that you're coming about on Friday, you need to bring at least that cause number and that court. And so that's all I have. Again, we're very excited to be doing this. We find that it has a great service to the community. We get lots of phone calls throughout the year about this. So we typically have one right before school starts, and then kind of a follow-up, a cleanup one later on in the year that's later on in the fall. But if you have any questions, feel free to call the number for MVLP, but you can also call the Chancery Courthouse at 601-968-6521. 601-968-6521. And if anyone has questions now, I'll be happy to answer them. Okay, well, thank you again for having me. And unfortunately, I do have to leave to attend another function, but I will be leaving some flyers here in case anyone would like an opportunity to share this information with other people.
Judge, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate your partnership and support.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you so much, Judge Crystal Wise Martin, for introducing this clinic and providing more information about it. We do encourage everyone in the Hinds County community and within our district who are non-parental to take advantage of this program. And Dr. Green, I would just like to state that since 2018, the Mississippi Volunteer Lawyers Project has helped over 480 families in these free legal clinics. And we currently have identified at least 125 families within our district that can benefit from these services. So again, deadline to register is this Thursday at noon, and that clinic is this Friday from 9 to 12 at Hinds County Chancery Court. Thank you so much, Judge.
I'd like to add that we don't want anybody to miss out. So if for some reason someone does not register in time, just come on down there. But come as early as possible so you can get on the list. And there's a good chance there'll still be someone there who can assist.
Amen. Thank you. Wow. Thank you for those numbers, too. That's helpful.
Thank you, Dr. Green.
Yeah. All right, board members, as we look forward to the first day of school, which is Monday, August the 7th, we're just excited that it's that time again. I feel like Santa Claus on Christmas Eve, that run up to Christmas. Just excited about this time of year and all the work that's going into preparing to receive our scholars back. Of course, we want to encourage our parents to start preparing scholars for the return and by reviewing the routines for the school year. And this might include bedtimes and morning routines and expectations for homework and study times and meals and just all those things that help to keep them as efficient and as effective as possible as students. And so just encouraging our parents to help to ready our scholars and get them in the frame of mind that school is a great thing. It's okay that they had a wonderful time over the summer, but now it's time to get back in this new mode or this different mode. And so we're doing everything we can to prepare to welcome them with open arms. And speaking of our scholars and welcoming them, board members, as of today, August the 1st, we have 12,778 scholars registered. This represents about 70% of our projected enrollment for the 23-24 school year. I don't have the comparison year to date from last year, but we've been tracking 2-3 times more of those who were registered this year versus last year since the end of school, the last day of school from last school year in May. And so excited to continue to see those numbers pushing up as we approach the first day of school, and also want to continue to encourage our parents to get their scholars registered by tomorrow, which is August the 2nd, in order to guarantee transportation for next week, the first week of school. As you all know, we have to do lots of work to ensure that we've got enough buses and enough seats on those buses to serve all of our scholars. And so the sooner we know who will be on our buses and who needs transportation, the better we can plan for that. Also, board members, parents, community members, as we all know, it's been a little warm these last few days. It's been a pretty hot summer, and so as we're thinking about this transition and preparation to welcome our scholars back, we've been working to maintain and repair and all the things necessary in our buildings, and not the least of which regarding our HVAC systems, our cooling systems. But we know that they're fragile, and many of them are past their life cycle, and so we're just having to continue to work to keep these volatile systems up and running. To address this and some of the more acute issues at some of our schools, please note that our Chief Operating Officer has made an emergency request to purchase portable air conditioning units and to make urgent HVAC repairs at one of our schools where we've had a more recent challenge. And so you'll hear more about this, and we'll come back with the actual emergency request, but just wanted to alert you of those two items: purchasing upwards of 200, actually more than 200 portable air conditioning units, and making some pretty major HVAC repairs at one of our schools. Again, our facilities team is continuing to monitor our systems, monitoring our schools. They're getting day-by-day updates and reports of any issues so that those can be addressed as quickly as possible. Want to appreciate our facilities team, and specifically our tradesmen who continue to address all of these issues in our schools, even as we're working to make some major repairs over time as necessary. Also, I'll just lift up with regard to the heat. We know that this is going to continue to be to have some hot days, and so there will be bottled water available for our scholars and team members. We will be working with principals to ensure that they're limiting any time that scholars spend outside, just to be mindful of any potential issues that might come about as we deal with the hot days, excessively hot days. Just a couple more items before I conclude. We have brought back we appreciate, board members, your approval of some additional days, professional development days for our team members. And so we've had teachers and school leaders and others back in buildings starting yesterday. And so I've been able to stand in and listen in on some of the professional development sessions. They seem to be going really well. Lots of questions, wonderful engagement. Last week for 3 days we had our Leadership Institute. The second one, we typically have one at the end of the school year and one just before the start of the next school year. And so lots of engagement with all of our leaders from across the district. We had principals and assistant principals, folks who lead out departments and various functions throughout the district. Just lots of good work, engagement, collaboration to ensure that we've got eyes on this school year and all the issues and opportunities to ensure that things that we meet with great success this coming school year. So appreciation for those who joined us the last couple of days, the teachers, and for all the teachers who will be joining us as we go on through the week in preparation for next week. And lastly, just again, you saw it in the video, but want to express my sincere appreciation for all of our community members, our team members, board members, parents, scholars, all of those who joined us last Friday, July the 28th, for our third annual Beautification Day. Over 700 community members, parents, scholars, team members, came out to help us by lending a hand in our schools, setting up classrooms, cleaning windows, pouring mulch, all sorts of things. So lots of wonderful spirit, generosity of spirit, wrapping arms around our buildings, knowing that they're our buildings together, community buildings. And so looking forward to welcoming our scholars and having them in the space. You see some of the wonderful pictures that were captured of all of the volunteers who were with us across the district. Lots of folks who were braving the heat to join us and do some really important work. Dr. Sivak, with that, I conclude my remarks for this evening.
Great. Well, thank you, Dr. Green. I do want to echo just congratulations to you and the entire team for pulling off Beautification Day. Had the opportunity to be down at Marshall, and you know, it was great on many fronts. You know, I'll remember the time I spent with Mrs. Davis, helping her in her classroom, and with Ms. Jackson. And one of the things that she said, which I wanted to share with board members, you know, she's been with us for 10 years. And I said, you know, you can go anywhere. Why do you go here? She said, it's important for me to work where I live. And so, you know, that's just the kind of spirit that we have in our classrooms. And also just beyond the teaching core, you know, all of the custodial team, the maintenance team, that were moving all of the desks and chairs from Isabel into the classrooms at Marshall. So you kind of see some of the results of decisions we've been a part of as well. So just a lot of effort going into the day. And Ms. Thea Faulkner, who obviously played an organizing role as well, and fit me in at the last minute with maybe without a registration. So great day and congratulations. Board members, I also wanted to point out artwork on the wall here in the boardroom. You may recall really before COVID, that wall used to be filled with pictures of board members. But now it is filled with self-portraits of our students, our artists in our district. Ms. Benita Donald really spearheaded this project, and really want to lift her up for the effort that she's put into appropriately lifting up the focus of where we should be, where our mind should be, where our attention should be when we're in the boardroom. So, Ms. Donald, thank you for spearheading that project. And board members, one quick change. I did not mention this in the adoption of the agenda. There is one item that was added. We'll go through the script, but item 8A was somewhat of an emergency addition. We'll go through that when we get there. I've asked Attorney Turner to walk us through in detail the reasons why we needed it, and specifically what we're being asked to approve. So before that, though, we do have public comment this evening. And so just want to remind the public that for community members who would like to make public comment, community members should email their request to Ms. Rosalind Williams, our board secretary, at roswilliams@jackson.k12.ms.us no later than 4 p.m. the day of the meeting, or appear in person in the boardroom no later than 5:15 the day of the meeting. So as we begin, we just want to share how public comment occurs. Commenters will have 3 minutes to share remarks. Attorney Turner keeps the minutes, however, during, and so she will raise signs at the 1 minute mark and when time is up. The board believes the public's comment is very important. The board will listen and consider comments, but we will not respond at this time. If there's an issue that has not been taken up with leadership at a particular school, we encourage our public to do so. Additionally, any comments that move into the realm of personnel or student discipline, those will be moved into executive session, and so we just want to make sure people know that as well. Board members can also be reached at our email addresses, which are on the JPS website. So at this time, Attorney Turner, I'll invite you to move forward with the
Board members, we
comments.
have one person who signed up to address you this afternoon. Maya Brown would like to address you regarding concerns about schools. Clausel, I believe it is. Ms. Brown? Yes.
Hello, everyone. My name is Maya Brown. My son is Myron Kennedy. He attends Clausell Elementary School. My son had a rough year last year due to the teachers. I guess didn't like me from when the first time they met me. I called for Ms. Thomas, which is the principal, to do something about these teachers. She called Ms. Woody, who came to have a meeting. I feel like nothing was done. So my son, he had a rough year. Just being ignored by certain teachers, just being picked with. He even got hit upside his head by a teacher. What else did he say? Just, just being ignored. He's not comfortable with the school. I've spoken to Ms. Woody. She always has a nasty attitude. She acts like she just can't, like she said, no one could, I can't report her.
Ms. Brown, if you're going to start talking about individual employees, we're going to have to move you to executive session.
Okay, I want that session also.
Okay.
Well, you don't get it also, you get it instead. So what'll happen is at the end of the meeting, because you want to start talking about specific personnel and their
Yes, I need to talk
performance.
about everything that's going on with the teachers, the principal, and the superintendent.
Okay, so what's going to happen is when the board gets to executive session, we'll pull you in. You'll get to say everything you want to say, but it won't be in the public realm. It'll just be in front of the board.
So what do I get to speak up on now?
It'll
the
be
teachers at the
the end.
school?
No, before the board. You'll
Yeah,
still be before the board.
You'll still be
but it'll
before the board
Yes,
this
ma'am.
evening. It's just at the end of the open session portion of the meeting, we'll call you in.
Because you don't want to record it?
Well, executive session is not recorded, no.
Okay, I got you.
Okay. Thank you, Attorney Turner. And Ms. Brown, we'll hear you when we go to executive session at the end of the meeting. Next, we have our bond update. So we'll invite Ms. Sandra Robinson, our Executive Director of Facilities Operations, and Ms. Lena Franklin, our Real Property and Construction Director, up to share our most recent updates. Ms. Robinson.
Good morning. Oh, good afternoon. It's been a long day. Good evening, Dr. Sivak, board members, Dr. Green. At the first meeting of each month, we have the pleasure of providing the bond and ESSER update. In tonight's presentation, we will provide an update on the summer projects, in particular our ESSER projects, and also end up with an update on the start of school. Ms. Franklin will provide an update on the construction. Ms. Franklin?
Good evening, board members. Well, we've been off to a busy summer with continuing with some of our bond projects and starting some of our ESSER projects. Here at Johns Hopkins Elementary, we've had an extensive renovation project to upgrade 8 sets of student restrooms, and that included changing out all of the chase wall plumbing. They've received new tile there. All new plumbing fixtures have been installed. All of the flooring is complete. Currently, contractors are still on site installing the lighting and partitions. Another aspect of this project at Johns Hopkins was the carpet removal throughout the school. You may recall the photo on the left. We saw it back in June. That's what the previous flooring looked like. And we did have some delays with the shipment of VCT. Originally, it was scheduled to be delivered July 30th. We had several delays, but thankfully it did come in July 21st, and contractors have been working at the school every day from 7 till 10 or 11, and we're glad to say they do have all of the flooring installed in every classroom. And our staff there has been really patient and allow contractors to remain in the building, continue to make progress. They're still working on installing the tile in the library and throughout the corridors. At Pecan Park Elementary, you may recall this is one of the sites where we relocated students so that contractors would have full access to the building. And it's an extensive project that involves upgrading all of the HVAC equipment. We see the photo on the left, all of the ductwork and plumbing is being replaced. The center photo shows where all of the exterior EIFS is being removed. And around the entire perimeter of the building, we're excavating and installing a new drainage system to mitigate the water in the crawl space. At Wells APAC, we see our old Power APAC sign has been removed. We have our new backlit Ida B. Wells sign that's been installed. Also here we have a set of boys and girls restrooms under renovation. In these photos, we see the ceramic tile and epoxy flooring is complete. The contractors did work over the weekend, and the painting is complete, and the plumbing fixtures have been installed. Currently, we are still waiting on the toilet partitions, and they're scheduled to arrive tomorrow morning, Wednesday, and contractors are poised and ready to begin installation as soon as they're on site. At Bailey APAC, you may recall we had already relocated students to Northwest Middle School. Here, this is actually our most extensive ESSER project. It involves some drainage work also to mitigate water infiltration in on the ground floor. The center photo, you see some extensive ground floor renovations in our PE and locker room areas. We're also making some extensive renovations on the ground floor to accommodate our 4th and 5th graders. The photo on the right, we see this is some work that's been done in the cafeteria in the ceiling to install all the new piping and ductwork. At Powell Middle School, we're doing some renovations to the locker rooms and restrooms adjacent to the gym. On the left, we see all of that has been demoed, and that plumbing stack will get updated. And we'll also have some interior and exterior sewer line replacements. At Whitten Middle School, this project involves 2 sets of student restrooms. Contractors have only been allowed to demo 1 set of student restrooms, and all of that chase wall plumbing is complete. We have had a delay with testing the in-wall plumbing due to some water pressure issues, and we are working with Ted Heinefin with the City of Jackson to mitigate the water pressure issues and test this system and get the walls closed up. At Lanier High School, this is where we're transitioning to the 7th through 12th grade site. And Dr. Bradley, the principal there, has identified that east wing to accommodate her 7th and 8th graders. Our staff has gone in those rooms and we've removed carpet, they've painted. Also on the ground floor of that wing of the building, they've identified some rooms and did some remodeling to create a lobby and office area to receive parents for the 7th and 8th graders. Also at Jim Hill High School, this was another site where we relocated students in order to allow the contractor full access to the building. Here we see all of the plumbing and ductwork in the ceiling is being torn out, and that building is under full HVAC demolition. At Wingfield High School, this is another drainage project. We're installing a sump pump and catch basin and some piping to mitigate water infiltration in the crawl space there. Also, this is one of our ongoing bond projects. Our baseball and softball fields at our Hardy Hughes Athletic Complex. We made significant progress here. All of the sidewalks and fencing have been installed. The batting cages and dugouts have been installed. Later this week, we actually have our owner training for the lighting system, and also planned for later this week is the installation of the scoreboards. Next, Ms. Robinson is going to give us an update on some of our other things we can expect.
And just to add as follow-up, for John Hopkins, teachers will be moving in starting tomorrow. The school was walked by the principal and Ms. Woody and identified those critical areas. Even though the VCT was delayed, the teachers were working at Raines on yesterday and today, and tomorrow they will start arriving at John Hopkins to prepare their rooms, and they will have open house at John Hopkins on Sunday. So we're excited about being able to invite all the scholars and parents to a new space at Johns Hopkins. For the start of the 23-24 school year, Dr. Green has already given you an update in the superintendent's report about the HVAC challenges. These last 2 weeks in particular with 100-degree plus days have been a challenge. In particular, the school that he mentioned is Obama, and the fact that we are ordering some additional, some portable AC units. We are having contractor supplemental support, as well as getting you an update on our ESSER HVAC projects. And these slides are not in your packet because we wanted to give you some current updates tonight. So for Obama, the school's HVAC was installed in 1993. So that is 30 years ago. Both chillers for the school are beyond repair. One chiller was working in June. Early July, that one failed. All attempts to restore both chillers failed. We have declared an emergency, and a contractor has identified a replacement chiller that can be installed by Sunday. A crane will be on site removing the 2 chillers that are beyond repair, and we will start the installation of that chiller. So we have talked with the contractor and stated that they will work overtime. They're prepared to work 16-hour days in order to get the HVAC at Obama back and running by Sunday, and hopefully we'll beat that timeline. For the portable AC units, we have ordered several HVAC units, but because of supply chain demand delays, those units have not arrived to be installed. So in the short term, we will be utilizing portable AC units, and that amount is $250. We're going to identify those classrooms without error and have those dispatched to those schools and installed. For contractor supplemental support, we do have a small HVAC staff. We will be utilizing or are utilizing 6 contractors to help supplement the need. They regularly go out every day and work on schools. These companies do charge $90 to $95 per hour. Thankfully, with the pay raise that was approved by the board in June, that our technicians are making $25 per hour now, and we hope to be able to attract more people so we don't have to rely so much on contractor support. One good thing that happened today, we had a bid opening for an ESSER project that we had to rebid. This project was over budget by over $1 million. The schools that were included in that package was North Jackson, Callaway, Kirksey, and McWillie. What we did on the rebid, we took out everything that was not HVAC related. So we took out restrooms, windows, carpet removal, and we got to the bare bones because we know we don't want to start another year like this with HVAC concerns. So that project did come within budget. We do intend on recommending the bid for award by the September 5th board meeting. Any questions?
Thank you, Ms. Robinson. Board members, are there any questions, comments regarding the bond presentation and ESSER information?
I've got a couple. First off, hey, it's good to see you. You talked about Witten. I'm just interested for personal reasons. Can you expand on what the issues are with low water pressure and what we've done working with Jackson Water and all of that sort of stuff?
Yes, so I was actually I talked personally with Ted Hannafin today, and then the contractor will have a staff in the Witten area tomorrow to make sure any valves in the area needs to be open. They're going to come and meet and test the water at Witten. There are 3 W's right now, schools that we have a concern about: Witten, Wilkins, and Wingfield. And I shared with him the order right now is Witten, because if we can't have enough pressure in the restrooms, it doesn't pass inspection in order to put those restrooms back online. But at 9 o'clock in the morning, the contractor that is working with Jackson Water will be on site and start making sure, identifying how we can get that pressure up at the school. And then after that, they will prioritize Wilkins and Wingfield.
Great. I have one other, and that's just to kind of reshift back to Obama. There's a saying we throw around at our firm: everybody knows what to do when we're making money. The question is, what do you do when you're not, right? So we want to meet the goal of getting there on Sunday. What's the contingency if we don't have it operating by then?
The contingency is we've identified Galloway Elementary as that swing space in case something doesn't happen and we don't meet that deadline on Sunday.
Okay, great.
But we'll also have the portable units. So while we've identified a swing space to relocate those scholars, if we can use portables, because those are supposed to be here in the next day or so.
Okay, great.
If we can use the portables throughout the building, that's a lot of power, though, going to those units. But if we can do that, the preference typically is to keep them in the building. But we've got a couple of options.
Great.
Thank you, Ms. McGuffey. Only question I had, I saw the recommendation for the bid award by September 5th. Is that the soonest you can get it there? I know we got one board meeting in between. But part of what I'm thinking is on these, if we need a special call board meeting, because I'm super aware of the timetable that we need to get these dollars funded, we can do that. And so
We're excited to be able to get it on the August 15th board. So we will work with Mr. Berg, Dr. Green, to have that recommendation for the August 15th board.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Mrs. Robinson.
Thank you.
All right, board members. Next, we're going to move on to the request to approve the RFP 2023-10 Professional Development and Coaching Support for Teachers for CT3. Board members, you may recall that we did receive some information on this request in the last board meeting. There was some of the material. We didn't have a comprehensive set of materials, so Attorney Turner is going to share that information with us. And I asked her to just walk through everything we're being asked to approve since we didn't get the information until very recently.
So, board members, so I don't mix up numbers and contracts, I'm going to speak more slowly than I normally do so I don't confuse you, hopefully. So at the last board meeting, there was an item on your agenda that was supposed to be approving a contract with CT3 for 2 bid proposals that had gone out, RFP 2023-09 and RFP 2023-10. RFP 2023-10 was a recommendation that included actually 4 vendors. One of the vendors was CT3, and that's the one that I'm going to be talking about primarily, but I believe it also included Pamela Franklin, Kids First, and the Kirkland Group. And so what happened is between my office and the district administration, when the materials were sent to us, we didn't realize that we had 2 contracts and 2 RFPs. So what actually went to you and what you approved on July 10th, and this is with regard to CT3, is you got an executive summary and a bid tab that included the contract for CT3 that was roughly $400,000 plus. But the actual contract in the board materials was for $2.4 million. So what we got crosswise was we left out completely one of the CT3 contracts, and the information that you had was a CT3 contract for $2.4 million. That's the contract that was approved. But if you didn't read the contract and you had only looked at the executive summary and the bid tab, you would have thought CT3 was only $400,000 and some thousand. So to clarify, there are 2 CT3 contracts. One is for $2.4 million that you've already approved. The other one, and the actual correct amount, is $391,000. And the reason that this was critical is that the CT3 contract, that's $391,000, has professional development training tomorrow. So we were scheduled to do training tomorrow for the contract that was omitted in the board materials for July 18th. So what we're asking you to approve tonight is the second CT3 contract. That's $391,000. And it was uploaded in board materials, but you've got hard copies of both of those at your seats, so you can see what you should have gotten, and what you got actually was pieces of one and pieces of another.
Thank you, Attorney Turner. What I may ask, did Dr. Scott present? Who presented this information last
Probably
time?
Dr. Scott, I believe. These are her contracts.
Okay, Dr. Cormack is here. Can you just walk through each contract in terms of what, just again, because I understand the criticality, we need to approve the contract. I understand that. Folks are here. It's also federal money, so we got to make sure that it's done right. But given the late nature at which we received this 2:30 this afternoon, I want to make sure that board member, that we take time and just contract A, contract B. This is what contract A is. This is what contract B is. So again, so we know what we're being asked to approve.
So the way that we handle contracting in this area with the request for proposals is we lift out lead partner support, external support for a variety of different areas. The areas that we lifted in separable RFPs, particular to this year, we wanted to have very clear lines to the kinds of support that we were seeking. So CT3 responded to two of the focus areas. One was around teacher coaching, and that's the more substantial of the work that they do, right? So in terms of teacher coaching, this is around a pedagogical approach, the no-nonsense nurturing approach that deals with classroom management and behaviors and setting that tone and environment, the real-time coaching approach that they engage in. The other contract area focuses on leadership development, and specifically work that they do to coach principals and a set of internal trainers around the no-nonsense nurturing approach, such that we build internal capacity to continue to support the first contract area, the teacher support, over time. And so they work directly with then principals and then with instructional coaches that provide this supports. And so we've separated those out, the teacher-facing supports and the leadership-facing supports.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Cormack. Board members, any questions on either of these?
I just want to make sure I'm looking at them correctly. So I'm looking at the for the funding support sources that are identified on the it's toward the end of both RFPs. What I see, I think, is the inverse of what you just said, and so I just want to make sure I'm looking at them right. 2023-09 is identified as support for school and district leaders and administrators, and that's the $2.4 million. Conversely, 2023-10 is support for instructional staff, and that's identified as $391,000. We got those numbers right? Those are all tracking?
Yes, you're
Okay.
correct.
All right.
I just wanted to more clearly identify the bodies of work, but
I got you.
Thanks, Mr. McGuffey. Any other questions? Attorney Turner, just in terms of the checks and balances, and again, I didn't catch it either. You know, how do we just, things we need to do going forward so we don't end up the night before our project is supposed to start having a contract?
It's the communication between my office and Roslyn. I think we got it one time that was just one contract, either the 09 or the 10. Then we got it a second time that had both of them. And when my paralegal was looking at it, she signed off on the one, not realizing that there should have been two. And so I look at everything. And so once she said, I've signed off on CT3, CT3, I actually don't look at it in the board materials again. So now I'm going to look at it when I look at the contract, and I'm going to look at it again when I look at the board materials, because we had done CT3 in a prior year. Actually, the contract terms for both of these are the exact same.
Right.
You've only just got a difference with the quotes. So, you know, when Rosalind and I talk and she says we're doing 9 and 10, and, you know, Nikki's like, well, it's the same contract, and I'm like, well, send it on, because there's nothing to negotiate if we do the same kind. So we're just going to have to, I think, at every level, just eyeball it when it gets to us, when it goes out, and then again in the board materials to be sure that we're kind of catching all of those.
And also for our part, there's really no, as Attorney Turner has already said, the contracts are largely the same. So there's really no need to have two separate contracts, right? I haven't had a conversation with CT3 to better understand why they did it that way, but we could lump it all in one contract with the scope of work clearly delineated. Part A, coaching of teachers, et cetera. Part B, coaching of leaders or whatever. So we can, I think, be more deliberate in ensuring that we've got a simple kind of capturing of all of the work and the dollar amount in order to make it as simple as possible on our end, on your end as well.
Sounds good on all fronts. Okay, board members, is there a motion to approve this request?
Mr. Chair, I so move.
Second.
Mr. Figurs has moved. Mr. McGuffey has seconded. All in favor? Aye. The motion carries. Next, we have the request to approve amended policy JBC, which is immunizations, and Attorney Harris will present this information.
Good evening again, Board President Dr. Seaback, board members, Dr. Green. The administration is recommending that the Jackson Public School District Board of Trustees approve the amendment for policy JBC, immunizations. This change is recommended by the Office of Climate and Wellness to include a religious exemption from the vaccination requirement consistent with the new court order, and to detail that process and the required documents for student enrollment and admission into school.
Thank you, Attorney Harris. Board members, are there any questions or comments? I know this has been reviewed by the policy committee, and so recommended approval. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Thompson has moved. Mr. McGuffey has seconded. All in favor? Aye. The motion carries. Thank you, Attorney Harris.
Thank you.
Next, we have the request to approve the renewal agreement between Final Sight, which is formerly Blackboard, and the Jackson Public School District. Our Executive Director of Public Engagement, Mr. Sherwin Johnson, will present this information.
Thank you. Good evening, Superintendent Green, Attorney Turner, Dr. Seaback, members of the board, my esteemed colleagues, and the JPS community. On behalf of the JPS administration, I'm requesting the renewal of the communication tools and platforms with Final Sight, formerly Blackboard, that we use to engage with team members and the extended JPS community. This includes the JPS mobile app, the mass communications phone messaging system used for text messaging, attendance calls, and other district communications, and the content management system that hosts websites for the district, individual schools, and departments. In today's fast-paced and interconnected world, we find that these communication tools embrace modern technologies and allow us to transcend barriers, enabling collaboration and engagement.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Board members, are there any questions, comments? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve?
Motion.
Second.
Mr. McGuffey has moved. Mr. Figurs has seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Next, we have the request to approve the renewal agreement between Accelerate Mississippi Career Coach Grant. This will be administered by the Central Mississippi Planning and Development District and Jackson Public School District. Mrs. Lakeisha Marshall-Thomas, our Assistant Superintendent of the High School Division, will present this information.
Good evening, Dr. Seaback, board members, Dr. Green. The administration recommends approval of the agreement between the Central Mississippi Planning and Development District, who serves as the grant intermediary, in the Jackson Public School District in support of the Accelerate Mississippi Career Coach Grant Initiative. So in support of the legislature's desire and aligned to our district's strategic goals, program to support high schools as scholars are exposed, prepared, and connected to career avenues within and beyond the classroom setting, we, that CMPDD and the district, will employ strong partnerships with economic and business leaders, leveraging career coaches to target the alignment of student strengths with intentional academic and work-based learning opportunities in pursuit of meaningful and professional employment, as well as post-secondary planning. So one of the commitments that Accelerate Mississippi will be providing to the district is funding for the career coaches, along with their fringe benefits, travel expenses, as well as any coaching support needs, as well as continued coaching through Accelerate Mississippi alongside our academic coaches.
Great. Thank you, Mrs. Marshall-Thomas. Board members, are there any questions, comments? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Figurs has moved. Mr. McGuffey has seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Mrs. Marshall-Thomas. Next, we will invite Dr. Kathleen Grigsby, our Assistant Superintendent of the Elementary Division, up to go over items E and F. Dr. Grigsby.
Good evening, Dr. Sivak, board members, and Dr. Green. The administration is seeking to approve an IB consultant for Obama Magnet IB School. So this request is unique in that we have a transition of the principal as well as the IB coordinator. This is not something that we usually request during a review year. And so we're asking to get some additional support from August 2nd through November 1st. So it's a short-time contract.
Thank you. We can roll over to item F as well, given that it's also associated with the International Baccalaureate Program.
Okay. Barack H. Obama Elementary School requests the board affirm and continue the implementation of the International Baccalaureate Primary Years Program by signing the International Baccalaureate Organization Statement of Acceptance. And this is a document that we do on an annual basis.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Grigsby. Board members, we've heard the information. Is there any questions or comments? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve items E and F?
Motion.
Second.
Mr. McGuffey has moved. Mr. Figurs has seconded. All in favor? Aye. The motion carries. Thank you, Dr. Grigsby. Next, we have the request to approve a right-of-way easement to Energy Mississippi. Mr. Earl Burke, our Chief Operations Officer, will present this information.
Good evening, President Sivak, Board, Dr. Green. The administration recommends that the Board of Trustees approve a right-of-way easement to Energy Mississippi to locate at 4025 Watkins Drive, for Transportation North. This easement will provide the construction space for energy charging stations that will provide power for our new electric buses. The district is required to consent to any alteration or improvement to 16th section property. This is on the west side of our Lake Hyco section.
Thank you, Mr. Burke. And I zoned for a minute. This is to create a power source for the charging stations for the electric buses?
This is for them to have their lay-down pad for their charging stations.
Great.
There'll be some more. This is just one more step toward getting to a final construction of the charging stations, but they have to have a right-of-way for the space for the charging stations to run the lines from their transmission line to the charging stations.
Great. Thank you. Board members, are there any questions or comments? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. McGuffey has moved. Mrs. Thompson has seconded. All in favor? Aye. The motion carries. Next, we have the request to approve our preliminary monthly financial report for the month ended June 30th, 2023. Mr. Burke.
Thank you, President Sivak. The administration recommends that the board approve the preliminary monthly financial report for the month ending June 30th of 2023. The preliminary monthly financial report contains the statement of fund balance, budget status report, bank reconciliation report, and district maintenance cash flow report. Highlights of the report are as follows. I will reaffirm that this is preliminary. We're still closing the year end, so there's that. For general funds, the preliminary ending fund balance as of June 30, 2023 was $16,948,228.03. The balance is approximately $4.1 million lower than it was in the prior year's position. These balances are preliminary because the general ledger is not closed as of June 30th. District maintenance revenues are less than expenditures by approximately $5.1 million. Bright Spot 16th Section Revenue Fund 1840. Year to date, we've collected $939,342.81, which is 110% of what we budgeted. So we've collected more than what we expected. In special revenue funds, funds 2000 through 2999, the fund, the Child Nutrition Fund, Fund 2110, continues to carry a significant balance. Some of that will be spent down. We've had significant deliveries of equipment that will be paid for from that fund. Other special revenue funds, our title funds, our remaining Corona response funds, our IDEA funds, and other special revenue funds, which you can reference on page 8 through 9. Several of these special revenue funds still show negative balances due to the timing of drawdowns through the Mississippi Department of Education. Right now, we're carrying an estimated $7.6 million in loans to federal programs, and we have plans to draw down somewhere around 4.5 of that this month. Fund drawdowns are prepared and submitted by the 12th of the following month. The negative balances are covered by Fund 1120 and other district funds until reimbursements are received. The budget status report section of your monthly financial report, as of June 30th, 2023, we had budgeted to use approximately $57 million of fund balance funds. We've only actually used to date $19.6 million. That is 34.3% of what we budgeted to use. Revenue collections in just our district maintenance fund budgeted was $188.4 million. We've actually collected $187.7 million, which is 99.6% of what we budgeted. We expended, budgeted expenditures was $188 million. We have actually expended $193.1 million, which is 102%. So we've expended a little bit more, but that will sort itself out as we make journal entries and transfer things to where they're supposed to be in other funds. Revenue collected in all other funds, we budgeted $281.9 million. We've actually collected $124.3 million, which is 44.1%. And we have budgeted expenditures in all other funds of $338 million. We've actually expended $138.8 million, which is 41% of what we expected to spend in all of our other funds. So total budgeted revenues was $470.3 million. Actually spent, actual budget revenues so far collected $324.5 million, which is 69% of what we budgeted total overall. And then our budgeted budget expenditures was $527.3 million. We've actually spent overall $344 million, which is 65.2%. So those numbers are fairly close together, and they will, as we continue to refine those, they will get better. Bank reconciliation report as of May 31st. All bank accounts are with board-approved depositories, and bank statements are reconciled appropriately and promptly. Cash flow as of June 30th, 2023. The ending cash balance was $1,652,725.75 compared to a $5.6 million cash balance at the end of June 2022. That number's wrong. This represents a 70% decline in our position, but again, that is comparing to final numbers. So as our numbers finalize, those numbers will get close together. And then other key points, highlights. The KPIs were not provided to you this month because they would not have really made a lot of sense. As we finalize, the final June 30th financial information is pending, and preliminary preliminary to adjustments and corrections made as of FY 2023 books are closed. That is the financial report for preliminary financial report for the month ending June 30th, 2023. I'll take any comments, criticisms, or questions, not necessarily in that order.
Thank you, Mr. Burke. Board members, are there any questions, comments, criticisms? Only one question I had, Mr. Burke,
Yes,
is
sir.
when can we expect the closeout, the final numbers?
So we have to transmit our financial information to Department of Ed by October 15th.
Okay.
So we're moving expeditiously through that process. We want to get audits started. So I would think by the end of September.
Okay, thank you. Okay, board members, is there a motion to approve the preliminary monthly financial report for a month ended June 30th, 2023?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Figurs has moved, Mrs. Thompson has seconded. All in favor? Aye. The motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Burke. Next, we have the consent agenda item, finance. All consent agenda items have been reviewed by the board previously, and we've had an opportunity to ask questions of the administration. Are there any further questions? Hearing none, board members, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda item, finance?
Motion.
Second.
Mr. McGuffey has moved, Mrs. Thompson has seconded. All in favor? Aye. The motion carries. Next, we have the consent agenda item, general. All the consent agenda items have been reviewed by the board previously, and we've had an opportunity to ask questions of the administration. Are there any further questions? If not, board members, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda, general?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Figurs has moved, Mr. McGuffey has seconded. All in favor? Aye. The motion carries. Next, we have the consent agenda item, personnel. All the consent agenda items have been reviewed by the board previously, and we've had an opportunity to ask questions of the administration. Are there any further questions? Hearing none, board members, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda item for personnel?
Motion.
Second.
Mr. McGuffey has moved, Mrs. Thompson has seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The motion carries. Board members, we do have 2 items to consider for executive session. Is there a motion to close the meeting for executive session?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Figurs has moved, Mrs. Thompson has seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
The motion carries. Thank you, everyone, and have a good evening.